So anyway, I started this thing, and the people I worked with on the board and stuff were like, Julia, you keep talking about love and time, and you say these things, and it's wonderful, and that's great. We've got these technologies, but what is love? We need to tell our donors what love is, because they always ask. And I'm like, okay. So I had to figure it out. So I don't know if it's a good answer, but that's what we're going with.
I like that it's simple.
Yes,
I like that it's straight to the point.
Yeah.
You know, like even if people think that might even be bland for something that everyone spends a lot of their life chasing, or is like one of the ultimate forms of trust that you build in the world. When you can love another person, they can love you back. I think it's important that you're able to distill it quickly and make you focus on, even if it's just one term that's like, oh, that's what I got to do. I got to connect, or, oh, I got to trust. Rather than like, well, it's really this thing, and it's visceral, and it's out there in the ethersphere, and if you touch it and feel it within the waves, now people are like, oh my God, I'm never going to get it. I'm
never going to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's like chasing the magic dragon.
Well, no, and in terms of universal love, which is the sort of creme de la creme, which is this relationship with in my interpretation, with God, right? That's universal love. That's the same, right? And so...
Wait, that's the same?
Like universal love and God, I think, are the same.
Did you say same or saying?
Same. S-A-M-E.
Okay.
Same.
So you think universal love and God are the same?
Yeah.
Please explain.
Well, God is love, right? I mean, like, what better definition do we have of God? I mean...
I can't think of one.
No, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because if God, assuming God created everything, or creates everything actively, right? It includes everything. Like you were saying, includes the evil, it includes the good. So it has to be love, because a creator can't create all that without loving it. You can't create Jeffrey Epstein without being have incredible love capacity. Right? All
right. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Can you extrapolate on that though?
Yeah.
This is a really important idea. Yeah.
It's, there's a beautiful poem. So there's a wonderful book called Love Poems from God. Translator Daniel Ladinsky, who unfortunately died, but who's this amazing translator. He took 13 different mystics from East and West. So Muslim, Hindu. He was Jewish. There's no Jewish mystics in there. Christian, Muslim, Hindu, mostly, and maybe Sikh. And he has many, many poems from all these mystics. So we're talking about like Catherine of Siena, John of the Cross, Rumi, Kabir, all these folks.
The big names.
Big names. And he translates what they're saying to beautiful poetry. And in one of them, he has this sword. He talks about this sword who dies, like if a sword could die. I forget, it might be Kabir, but I'm not sure. The sword dies and goes to heaven and is talking to God and says, God, will you forgive me for all the wrong I've done? I've hurt many people. I've ended many lives. And God says, what kind of God would I be if I created you to do your work and did not love you?
Okay, so the contrary point that people automatically put to that, and you're using a sword, which is a thing, as an example there for what they said in whatever that poem was, but pretend it was a person for a second, someone who killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it says the same thing. That's kind of the allegory. What does that say about a God who says that to that person, but also knows that God created the same people who were on the other end of it?
That's right. So that's the tricky thing about God, right? Universal love is, if we are to learn that we are loved by God and that we're forgiven for all the stuff that all of us do, how are we going to learn that if we decide that, okay, that's true of me, but it's not true of you?
It's another thing that can take a lot of grace for someone to get there, Yeah,
which, by the way, doesn't mean that it's okay to do those things. Because, right? I mean, I saw the Epstein survivors talk about their experience. Yeah. So these are powerful women who are saying their truths publicly and vulnerably. And the impact that they hope to have, I also hope to have for them. And so it's not to say that this person should, what it is to say is when there's someone who, for whatever reasons that we don't understand, is behaving in this way, any way that's hurting people consistently and can't be rehabilitated and is clearly just a complete disaster. What it does say is we have to remove them from society so that they can't continue to do that.
Yes.
And do that in a loving way.
In a loving way.
In a loving way. Like, we love Jeffrey Epstein, we lovingly have to lock you up for the rest of your life. I mean, you know what I mean? Like,
one way to put it.
Well, I mean, like,
yeah.
I'm not excusing any of it. And it can read like an excuse. But what I'm saying is everyone is forgiven. And we still have to work towards the good.
So do you think something like hell exists, though, for the people who decide that they're above their actions here and they're just going to bank on forgiveness for whatever evil they may do, regardless of what that is or how bad it gets?
There are certainly people like that. I mean, that's...
I think he was one of them.
Empirically true. He was absolutely one of them. Do I think hell exists? I'm Jewish. There's not a really good concept of hell in Judaism. There's this feeling that God created everything, including like Hitler. And you still get to say, you know, Hitler was a son of a bitch and
that's right.
Should have been killed. Like, that's also true.
That's right. But Hitler, and this is the crazy thing too. I think about this a lot. Hitler was once a baby that was born.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I've talked about this before with people, I could buy that scientifically, maybe with the wrong push, I should say, certain people are born with certain genetics that more predisposes them to maybe going the wrong way if they're given that wrong push. But by and large, I've always been really obsessed with like the environment that people are born into and then develop in, and the things that happen to them and the response impulses that they then choose with those things that happen to them.
Yes.
And like with Hitler, I'm always like, who is the asshole who didn't let this guy into art school?
No, always. Yes.
Right? Like,
always.
Who is that person?
You will go back in time and don't kill Hitler. Tell him to go to art school.
Go to art school.
Exactly. No shit. So
one of, if not the most common DMs I get on Instagram are many of you asking me what my favorite books are. Well, today's your lucky day, because if you use the link in my description below to join my newsletter, I'm going to give you my top 10 book recommendations right now. Also, if you'd like to join my clipping community for a chance to make money producing content from the show, you can do so via the Discord link in my description below. And finally, you can join my Patreon for early uncensored releases of the full episodes via the Patreon link in my description below. As always, please take 1 second to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I really appreciate that. Also, the like button's a big help, and you can join my newsletter via the link in the description.
But see, that's a very inclusive. So it's the same response I have to people who people get all freaked out about this one person is evil. Like right now it's Epstein. This one person's a bad person. And it's like, yeah, obviously I don't approve of that behavior. That's unbelievably devastating behavior, and he ruined people's lives and is still doing it. I mean, talk to me about what the shit he did to women in academia. But you know, if you focus on one person, it's another dissociative move in the sense of you don't ask the question, how does my behavior have anything to do with this? It's like, I'm white, that person's black. I'm not saying racially. I'm saying like I have the light and that person's in the dark. They're all bad. I'm all good. In other words,
I see.
You see, it's like, well, if you read the Epstein files, well, I will talk about what he did to women in academia. There's one exchange where I'll just tell a personal one and then a general one. In a personal one, I'm in the Epstein files because a guy named Joshua Bach, who's a cognitive scientist in Germany, was basically, as far as I read it, was currying favor with Epstein on Signal Chat or WhatsApp or something, and was talking. They were being smart together because Epstein loved like smart academic types, right? Mm-hmm. And so they were talking, and Joshua Bach, who I've worked with on a panel once. So he knew me vaguely, but I don't think he'd ever read his work. He said, well, you can't ever figure out, they were talking about the lottery, you can't ever figure out who wins the lottery unless you're Julian Mossbridge and you believe that, you know, it's retrocausally available information from the future.
That's so strange to read your name in those emails
So
with them talking
and
about
also
you.
like knowing that I had already worked with this guy and he already struck me as creepy, and now here with this. So it's like, but that's one example of he knows. So Joshua Bach knows he can curry favor with Epstein by making fun of a woman in academia. Okay. Fast forward to John Brockman, another academic.
Yes, the head of the EDGE Foundation, right?
Yep. Talking to Epstein and trying to get funding for a conference on AI. And Epstein saying, well, this is, that we didn't used to have to worry about diversity in so basically there were 20 some people coming to the conference to speak about AI, professors. 3 of them were women. He says, well, that's too many women. Something like, we didn't used to have to worry about diversity. I like the old days. Anyway, these women are weak. Sorry. And he was talking about like Alison Gopnik and some other women who are just these famous,
Geniuses.
MIT, UC, Berkeley people. And then Science of Consciousness, University of Arizona, was supposed to happen in early April. I was going to go there with my team and talk about the non-speaking autistic results that we have, the results from non-speaking autistic people, and talk about telepathy and talk about their minds. And anyway, we find out it's canceled. Why is it canceled? Because some of the folks involved, like Stuart Hameroff and Deepak Chopra, are in the Epstein files, and Stuart Hameroff took $50,000 and didn't tell University of Arizona and lied about it. And so it just pisses me off because, like, on the one hand, I'm like, universal love, motherfuckers, because we have to get it that that's there too, and they're all forgiven too. And one of the things about universal love is I get to feel loved too. It's not just for everyone else, right? I get to feel loved for my anger, my frustration with the situation. I get to feel loved even though I reject any thought that some wealthy elite man is going to fucking change my career for the past 20 years. And I didn't even know it until now because of the circles he's running in and the money he's giving or not giving. And, I reject it. And at the same time, it's all held in love. I mean, so it's this weird paradox. And so I want to play a song about this.
Please.
Can I?
Yes.
Did you have another question, or can I jump into banjo?
No, please play. We got I've been looking at the banjo the whole time. Okay. Let's do it.
Okay.
See if we got the EQ ready.
Yes, sir.
So I'm not going to sing the first part, the verses. What this isn't showing you is the chorus, which turns this into an actual protest song that is really timely and kind of prescient.
Interesting.
So. So those are the first 2 verses, Cripple Creek's wide, Cripple Creek's deep. I'll have Cripple Creek before I sleep. The verse about I'll roll my breeches to my knees.
Yeah.
So breeches are actually knee-length pants. The only way to roll them to your knees is from the top down. Right, but it's a little coded, which is
I don't think it's coded. I think it's exactly what it reads like.
Exactly. So then here's the chorus. Let's see. Let me get this. I'll have to do the beginning part again. Release the Epstein files, release them all. Release the Epstein files, one and all. Release the Epstein files, release them all. Release the Epstein files, one and all. Pretty cool, right?
That's pretty cool.
They were smart back then.
Right on cue. That's good. Yeah, I feel like it's something everyone should be able to agree on, actually, for once. And I feel like we've been fighting. Take a little sidebar here for a second on this because it is prescient. I feel like for years, the elites, have been separating us, the people, on left-right, and how we view solutions to problems, right? And maybe we have some different ideas to solutions, but everyone generally wants the same things: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, if I were really dumbing it down, right? Health, family, things like that. the fight, I saw someone comment this on a YouTube video a few weeks ago, and I've been using it ever since. I thought it was brilliant, so shout out to whoever you were. But they've been having us fight horizontally. The fight is vertical. The fight is vertical. There is a very, very small, select, elite, uber wealthy, disgusting group of people who have decided that everyone else here is just a useful idiot for their peasant avante strings to kind of control.
Filler people,
yes,
non-player characters. Yep.
And it's time for the people, all of us out here, that's a great way to put it, who have referred to us, who are referred to as non-player characters, to show them that's not how this works, And what I hope is that in all this coming out, because we've now had how many administrations fail to do this? Like 5? Whatever it is, 4 or 5 administrations.
Just all of them.
Literally all of them. I would hope that there is a real reckoning here. And I hope that in that reckoning, the entire house doesn't burn down, but the rooms that, the murders occurred in, so to speak, they get burned down.
Yeah. 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 That's like the events of our lives with the beads on the string.
Yeah.
And we have to remember we're the string.
That's right. That's a great way to put it.
We are the string. And so, yeah, no, I feel like fist bumping you.
All right. Let's fist bump. Cool.
Because that's a great definition of what I call the inspiracy or the love revolution.
The love revolution.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. You can use love as this powerful strengthening force.
Yeah.
This is the inspiracy. This is the rising up inside yourself to say, like, look, what's coming through is this is not going to happen anymore.
Yes. And I think part of that is us having a better understanding of our different perspectives, our different lived experiences, our different ideas on life, and understanding the things that actually pull us all together, like I was saying, and then uniting around that. And, if you could we were talking about the line between evil and good, and, that being like a part of meaning of life earlier. If you could take the very evil that is this situation, that you can't change what happened. As much as you'd love to, can't change what happened. But now be able to use what has happened for some good to change the future in a great way, then I don't want to call it worth it or anything like that. Please don't mishear me. But do the best with what you have as you can. And let's see how we do with that.
That shit is the fertilizer.
Yeah.
And so I totally agree. We have to move into a redemptive narrative. And that's the big switch. So we've been in contamination narrative forever and ever. Yeah. And it keeps us in this place where we're racing against China, which has such a different way of thinking.
Yes.
And the things that we have here in this country, the thing that to me that makes it so special is we're about the diversity. We're about, like, you think differently than I do.
Yes.
That's the good stuff. We're not supposed to be controlled by the state in that. We're supposed to be able to say what we think. And that's the power. And so to me, the world thinks that these wealthy men, when you read the Epstein files and you see how people were flirting with him, like you see like Bill Clinton flirting, you see the flirtation of, because it's this powerful
Yes, that's
thing.
what it is. It's power.
It's power. It's like flirting for power. Or Alon, like you were saying, flirting, like basically, oh, you and your people, I'll bring my wife. And this, currying favor with the devil, essentially, kind of thing, right? When you see that, you say, okay, just let's talk about what's going on in Epstein's mind. He's very, very powerful, according to the world. He has all this money, according to the world. Yeah. But he doesn't feel powerful, because if he did, would he behave in this way? Would he have people curry favor with him? You see what I'm saying? Yeah. There's a hole in that bucket.
He's the kid from Coney Island who came from nothing and was told he couldn't run in these crews and said, I'll fucking show you, and also happened to have a sickness with it that then was used as a skill for bad to get intelligence on people and fuck them over.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
And I think there's a similar story for every kind of bully that's out there.
I agree.
The ones we think are powerful, they don't feel powerful, and that's why.
That's it. That's it. Real quick, Julia, can I just use the bathroom? We'll be right back.
Can you? You're asking me if you can use your own bathroom?
I'm going to use the bathroom. All right. We'll be right back. You know what I was thinking about earlier, like 30 minutes ago when we were talking about ideas? I forgot to bring it up. You ever hear Rick Rubin talk about, and I'll definitely kind of mess up the way he phrased it, was probably better, but talk about like when the universe wants something to happen. Like when you're working on something creatively so hard and like so locked in, and the pieces start coming together, and then you put together this part, maybe you're making a song, you put together this vocal right here, and then you come up with the 808 over here, and then suddenly you're like, ooh, I could do a guitar. And the second you put something in there, it just happens to line up perfectly and timed like it was meant to be.
Yes.
What is that?
I know. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I know how that is.
I've experienced it plenty of times creating stuff and editing things, and I'm like, oh my God. And then every time something great happens afterwards.
Yeah.
Like you put it out and people feel it and they're like, yes.
So the guy, that was my experience when I was writing my book recently. It just came to me, and I would just write a chapter and it just came out, and it was like, boom, right? Yeah. It just wrote itself, which isn't always my experience. But so Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, that guy, who's a researcher, I think he was at University of Chicago, he called it flow, this idea of being in the flow. But when you were talking about it so passionately, it made me want to know, like, did you ever work on music?
So in the editing that I would do, I did that. And whenever I talk, like our friend Mikey Condolian's a brilliant musician, whenever I talk with guys like that, they're like, you're a musician, right? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
They're like, well, you're not. I'm like, I know, like in another life, I really should have been. It's just like some things that
You're
happen.
just very auditory.
I feel music very viscerally.
Yeah.
I know, I can't explain it in words, but like the only reason I exist, the only reason this show exists is because when no one was making shorts of podcasts, I did it, and I like invented how to do it. And I would go crazy viral, but I have some OCD myself. I would spend on a 33-second clip, I'd spend 35 hours on it. And I'd get every single OCD cut perfectly. I would re-engineer songs. Like I remember taking that song with Pop Smoke and Dua Lipa for a 27.5-second clip for Andrew Bustamante back in May 2022, where like the song was called Demeanor. And there was like, I want to say 4-second bars on it. I don't even think I measured what the bars were. I could just feel where it was, to where it would change to too many layers of music that would drown out the words for what I was doing on the instrumental at like the 16-second, 17-second mark. So like I took bars from the third verse and put it on the end of the chorus to make it loop so that it would end on like a perfect uptone going into a down, so it's like satisfying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, if my music producer friends watched me do this, they'd be like, that was like painful to watch the tools you're using to do this, but they'd be like, wow, it worked. You know? So there's like something there, but no, like I have sat with guys who are brilliant musicians, play multiple different instruments and can feel things and actually put it to work. And it's like the most, I'd love sitting there watching it. It's the most beautiful thing to see.
Yeah. So what it makes me think of, the way you describe it, is something that I haven't thought of before. And so I'm excited about this idea. This is fun.
That's good. Let's go with it.
It's very good. Because you said I would be teaching you, but I think you're teaching me in the same deal.
I got to get that on. Let's roll that right there. Tell my dad I'm not a loser. Let's go.
I'm sure your dad doesn't think you're a loser.
He doesn't think I'm a loser. He's a fan.
So there's this, I'm going to use some props.
Sure.
So we have these 2 water glasses. Okay. There's a way of thinking about time where everything that happens as an event is equal in its status. You know, the little butterfly flutters its wings is equivalent to the World Trade Center is being bombed or whatever, or being run into by airplanes. Another way to think about time is there's these landmark events that kind of are going to happen, and there's other events that are optional. So like this
optional.
Like, if you think about the future, like if, let's say it's before 9/11, it's the day before 9/11. All these people are having dreams about something happening. And people are having, like, just a ridiculous number of people are having these experiences of planes going into buildings or all sorts of things, right? My sister, an artist, she paints a picture of planes going to a building, and 2 buildings, the fire bursting out of the building, and $sign in the corner, and a guy with a turban on. She's like, I happen to paint this. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So it's like, right? But there are plenty of people who have frank, precognitions of 9/11. So it feels like it sort of exists out there as a landmark in time, like it's going to happen. So imagine this is 9/11. And here's, this is the end of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Berlin.
So for people listening, not watching, I just want to say Julia's pointing to the red cup is 9/11. Yeah, but there's some people just on audio. And then a water glass right next to it is the Berlin Wall.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the Berlin Wall falls, and then the idea of this sort of theory of time is that this falls, that has to happen. But how we get as a world from the Berlin Wall falling to 9/11 is up to us. It's like if you had the, I don't know, the Sears Tower in Chicago and Millennium Park, you could go many different ways between those two things.
Yes.
And none of those are set in stone. But these landmarks are set in stone. So what it made me think of, and I know this sounds like it doesn't relate at all.
No, it's great. Keep going.
But what it made me think of when you were talking with such passion about, and I know that experience where it all comes together and it's like, I don't know where this is coming from, is that what you are being drawn towards is one of those landmarks. So your demeanor clip is one of those landmarks.
Yeah.
It's like, and who knows, you use shitty tools to make it, but it doesn't matter because it exists sort of in space-time as a thing, right? And so that when you ride that creativity train and you're like, it feels exciting because you're getting close to the landmark because you really are, but you're doing it in your own way.
Yeah. But it's important, the example you're using here too, because you use two world events, right? So Berlin Wall, were you saying Berlin Wall when it came down or when
it came down?
When it came down, right? Positive event. 9/11, negative event.
Right.
So the butterflies are flapping their wings of a bunch of different things that we make choices on at a micro level and macro level as humanity between causes something like that. And then on a more simple, personal, beautiful scale, if you're looking at just a creative idea, you do this thing, you do that thing, you do that thing, you fail at this, you do good at this, you fail at this, you do good at that, and then essentially you land on this thing that's like, oh, wow, that changed everything for me.
Right. It's almost like there's a gravitational field around the thing, and it's pulling you in from wherever you are. It doesn't have to worry about where you are. You're going to get pulled in by the field, kind of like this. It's going to happen. And when you get close, there's all these sort of senses of like something feels different, etc. Gives me chills because it can be both positive and negative.
Gives me chills too. So you don't think, I want to make sure I'm not misunderstanding some of it too. You're not saying the future is predetermined the way I'm interpreting it. You're saying the future has a bunch of predetermined possibilities, and the way that we act on the road there is what determines those possibilities. Sorry if that was a little too meta.
No, it wasn't. No. I got distracted by thought in the middle. Can you say it again?
So the future is not predetermined, but there are a bunch of what you might call predetermined possibilities, could be infinite, that exist, that our actions collectively on the road there end up deciding which it's going to be.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm not saying that, but I think that could be true.
Okay.
What this would suggest is that these are sort of predetermined. Like it's almost like there's the rules of the game, and there's, the bear is going to jump out of the cave at the particular time. That is going to happen, and it's how you manage that affects, the way the game ends up going.
Right.
But that the key thing is that there's not just one person in the game. Like in the story of the creativity thing, you're creating something that exists in the world as something that affects other people.
Yes.
It's not just like, oh, I made this in my bathtub and now I'm going to run it down the drain.
I never shared it. Right.
Yeah. And so that's the nature of these things, is they affect people. And so anything that affects people has this kind of power. And it's not just you who's doing it, even because you're working with a team. Like, right? I mean,
at
you
the
were
time
working
I
with,
wasn't.
like
you were just me.
Yeah, but you're not the same person as Dua Lipa.
Right. I like how you think. That's right. That's right.
So you needed her to exist. That's part of your team, you see. So the team is extended.
Absolutely right.
Right. And so I think that we tend to think of the unit of success as the single individual and the single lifetime. And that is sort of a tragedy of modern life because it has reinforced that. Like, yes, you can, get your Amazon delivery and you could, live in your house and you could be okay and work from home. And it feels like the unit of success is your lifetime and this individual person, because that's the story that you're exposed to. And it feels like you don't need all these other people. You don't realize who's on your team.
Yeah, they all cause that, right?
Yeah, the Amazon driver and the guy in the rainforest who picked the fruit that you just ordered from Amazon or
That's
whatever
right.
it is, right?
Someone delivered this mic.
Yeah, exactly, and made it.
Yep.
Yeah, and this table. And so...
I made this table.
You did?
I swear to God. Me and Danny Jones. Yeah.
Did Jim Gaffigan help you?
No.
Because
Why?
it's, Jim
similar?
Gaffigan does...
I'm familiar with who he is.
Yeah. Isn't he who am I thinking of? Am I thinking of the guy?
I have no
Who's the
idea.
guy on Parks and Rec who does the woodwork?
I definitely don't know that. Can we Google that, Dave?
Because he has this whole woodwork shop, and like when he's like very successful woodworker, but also is this amazing comedian.
No, Danny Jones.
Nick Offerman.
Nick Offerman.
That's
Nick
what I
Offerman's
meant.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Danny Jones and me went to Home Depot and then came here and built this sucker right in here.
Right. So then you had the help of all the Home Depot people and everyone,
That's
and all
right.
the trees and everything. So it's acknowledging that this area around the landmark is filled with other people and other lifetimes. In other words, like your children are gonna, be working towards similar goals as you, probably, in terms of good in the world.
As long as they do what they want to do.
Yeah, but in a meta level, in terms of good in the world, they probably will. And cross your fingers.
I definitely hope so.
Yeah, and they're in there too. And so I think as a culture, we need to get back to this idea of it's not just my little life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point. Well, I had put a bookmark in what you were saying about remote viewing because we were talking a lot about different psychic
let's do some
things.
remote viewing.
So you mentioned just very casually right there, I might add, that you're like, yeah, I've done some remote viewing myself. So I guess the first question is, and by the way, for people who aren't familiar with what remote viewing is, I'll have you explain that in a second. But after you explain that, the first question would be, when did you first have exposure to what remote viewing was and what was the nature of that?
So, because I don't know what we were doing in those rooms that I would go in and dread in the SOAR thing, it's possible that was my first exposure to remote viewing. I have a feeling that it might have been. My first sort of conscious waking choice, my own intention to be exposed to it was when I was writing this book, The Premonition Code with Teresa Chung.
Okay.
And I felt like I didn't know. I wanted to train people in the book how to do precognition. And the only way I thought that could work would be if I trained them to do precognitive remote viewing. So that's remote viewing where the answer is in the future. And what you're trying to, remote viewing is, by the way, getting information about anything that's distant in space and or time. Mm-hmm. So it's not the same as like sketching this cup because it's right here, right now, right? But it might be the same as sketching this cup if I tried to sketch it yesterday and I asked myself, try to draw the things that'll be on the table when you talk to Julian Dorey, right? Right. So that's precognitive remote viewing. That if I had done that, I didn't.
That's good.
Yeah.
That would have freaked me out.
Yeah, okay. So remote viewing is a name that's given to like a mix of psychic capacities that includes precognition, telepathy, clairvoyance, I think a little bit of psychokinesis thrown in there. Some people throw in some like mediumship capacities. So, but the intelligence community / defense intelligence community created the name remote viewing for it, along with Ingo Swann, or maybe Ingo Swann created it. He was
Project Stargate and all that.
Yeah, all that stuff. You've probably talked about that before, right?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Not as much as you would think. That's something we should cover a little more because it's so fascinating.
Yeah. So Ingo Swann was this New York artist, gay guy, and the CIA who started Project Stargate and ended it, and they started it in 1978 and ended it in 1995.
It was so successful that they decided to walk off on top.
Yeah. Well, what's funny about their ending, the document that ended it, that was commissioned by Congress, was that at least 5 times, 4 or 5, I think it's 5 times in there, they say, well, we don't know about this remote viewing stuff, but precognition sure seems to work. Okay.
Tomato.
That can't be useful. Mm-hmm. So Yeah. So anyway, I know some of the folks who were some of the original remote viewing guys on
Like Joe
Stargate.
McMonagle?
Like Joe, he's wonderful. You should have him on.
I'd love to.
Yeah, you should. Especially because he's just like, he jumped out of so many helicopters. He's got such a bad back. It's hard for him.
Yeah.
So it would be great to have him on.
Yeah.
Paul Smith, another great guy. And both of them, I think, still teach remote viewing. And
how do you teach remote viewing? What is this like?
Yeah, so I was
for people who are very skeptical out there, like what's the science of how you would teach it and how it even works in your brain?
Okay, there is no science of how to teach it.
Okay.
Period. I mean, like people just try different things. And the best, I shouldn't say no science.
I'd be like, fucking look at it. You can't see it? Come on.
Ingo was very precise about how he taught it to his people that he was contracted to teach it to. But everyone teaches it differently. I teach it differently. But I don't think it's been well studied. It's like many of these things. The intelligence community does this just like every other organization, right? They find something that works and they're like, that's how we're doing it. Mm. And so there's no continuous improvement or science of it, right? Which is a big problem.
That we know of publicly, though.
That we know of publicly.
Right.
Right.
Sometimes they may really be looking at it back there and being like, yeah, now we're
all
not
bullshit.
Doing any work on it.
Yeah, they may.
Yeah.
But from the outside, it appears that this is the best they've got. Now, when I first started learning about the intelligence community, I assumed that everything that they would put onto the outside was like the worst, just to make them look really bad. Like, oh yeah, we only know how to do this, but then they really know how to do zippy amazing things. Mm-hmm. But I really think a lot of the time I'm wrong, and they're really behind where I thought they were.
Really?
Yeah.
What gives you that idea?
Because
DARPA was talking to dolphins in '91.
Yeah, but then where did it get them?
Probably. You ever seen some of these dolphins? I don't know. I'm just saying. They swim pretty far, too.
I don't know. Useful. They tried a lot of things.
Yeah.
But no, where that comes from is I read this document that my friend that I was introduced to, probably the most influential person I know in the intelligence community, Carmen Medina. She used to be the deputy director of CIA's analytic directorate. And I said, I read this document that you worked on about, it was a public document about behavioral analysis, like how people work and how we can do analysis to understand social behavior. And I said, it just seemed remedial. Like everything you're saying in there is something that would occur to me maybe 10 years ago. And is this really the state of the art? And she's like, yep. And I'm like, are you sure you're not saying this shit to like make people think you're stupid and you're not really doing these other things? And she's like, nope. And I believe her because she's like an outspoken advocate. She's spent her career trying to get the intelligence community to get more technologically advanced.
Yeah, I always think about the compartmentalization aspect of it though too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, even look at the Pentagon, right? From guys that I've talked to, some of which I think they say is just bullshit PR and other things. I'm like, maybe there's something there. One thing that is a common thread that totally makes sense is how, they'll put 4 guys in a skiff to work on this one thing.
Yeah, no one
over
else knows.
Here,
yeah.
And then 4 guys over there to work on this. And even like the defense, the head of defense, the secretary of defense doesn't even know what's going on in like 5 of these places.
Yeah. No, I understand. I mean, I get it. And also she was talking about analysis, which is way different than operations.
Yeah.
So like maybe in analysis, they really are behind the times because they hire a bunch of lawyers and stuff.
Or they don't feed them what they need to be able to do their job to the 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe.
Like you need information to be able to analyze.
Right. So yeah, no. So I don't know all those things, but the Stargate program was an attempt to meet Russia basically halfway. They were creating psychic spies that could get information without leaving the room, which is a great way to spy. Because
Russia was. Yeah.
And so, or at least we decided they were, but it turns out they were, and have ever since. They didn't end their program. It's a great way to get information if you can. You don't, you're not risking any lives.
Yeah.
And so we ended up starting that in the late 70s. It goes along the same sort of time frame as SOAR and gate. I think it's really interesting that Stargate and SOAR-gate are only one letter difference, but that could just be my conspiracy brain thinking, or not. So
I don't think so.
yeah,
I mean, they were
doing goofy shit, MK Ultra and stuff. So
yeah.
yeah. So, it was very successful. It was a successful program that, and then that got declassified in 1995. And then people went around starting to train people to do it. And
do you think everyone's capable of doing it?
I think that the way that people teach people remote viewing now, everyone's capable. 95% of people are capable of doing it to some extent. It's kind of like musical ability. 95% of people can carry a tune or hum a song, right? Or follow a rhythm, clap to a song. I think there's about 5% of people who are just what they call amusic. They just can't. They just don't got it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same here. I think it's about the same distribution. I think about 5% of people just don't have it.
But saying 95% of people may have the ability to see something that is in a different time and space.
Perceive something. I wouldn't call it seeing because it's usually in your mind's eye or in your mind's ear.
That's right.
So, yeah. And I think that the training helps because it's organizing you to pay attention to these sort of intuitions that come up that are, we usually dismiss. Like, I don't know, I just thought of my mother. I don't know why, kind of thing. So it can help with that, but it really helps if you have a gift. So the training can really help you organize things if you already have a gift. And I think just like music, about 5 to 15% of people are really gifted at this stuff.
What goes into being gifted? We talked about one example of, say, nonverbal autistic kids, but, for someone who's not verbal, who's not a nonverbal autistic and, could be my next door neighbor, what do you find makes them more gifted or predisposed to being more gifted to have some psychic abilities, if you will?
So there's two things that I believe that we know about. One is, one I know that we know about because it's from my own work. The other, I believe the data. There's something called openness, which is a psychological construct. Have you heard of like the Big Five inventory personality test?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Someone's talked about that on the podcast.
Yeah. It spells ocean, openness,
yes,
conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. So these are the 5 sort of factors that have been considered like, they'll just, if you know all these, you can understand someone's personality. Not really, but like that's how people think about it. So there's something called openness, which is your ability to, like, you're very open. I'm very open. The ability to get new ideas and not immediately reject them.
Yeah.
So that's one that's pretty clearly related to this. Another is your ability to feel unconditional love. And the reason I know that is I started studying that because people who I taught remote viewing to back when I was teaching remote viewing, and then remote viewers that I talked to who had done it for a long time, they all have this sort of spiritual sense, and it's they don't usually like to talk about it. It can sound woo, like you're not already woo enough as a remote viewer. And
I'm not worried about that. What does this mean?
Well, this is this feeling of all is one. Like they sort of sense this love in this information substrate. They sort of sense like everything is proceeding as it is meant to be, even if we don't understand the plan.
Is this from them reaching some form of, I don't know if it would be described this way, but this is just the way I'm picturing it, some sort of meditative state that allows them to access, say, a spiritual realm?
When you do remote viewing, however you can, you get into a state where you can access this information. So some trainer will say the best way to do it is meditation. Another trainer says listen to loud rock and roll on your headphones. Another trainer says dance, do Tai Chi. So different trainers will tell you to do it in different ways. But the best advice is find the way that allows you to access this information and then go to that way. Do that thing. Right? Because for each person, it'll be different. So really training remote viewing, in my view, is about just getting a student to practice. Because the more they practice, the more they're going to see, okay, this didn't work. I was doing things this way. I was calming down. I need to get more excited. I was getting excited. I need to calm down. And so the student needs to figure out through trial and error how to get there, because no one else really knows. But when they figure out how to get there, then they're in that place you were talking about before, where the creativity, they're next to something. They're the gravitational field of the target, if you will, which is the thing that you're trying to describe, pulls you in, and you feel, okay, I feel like I'm on target. It's almost like, I love docking videos.
Docking videos?
Like space videos, like
Oh,
Apollo.
yeah. Oh, they're so cool,
like,
yeah.
Yes. Like, oh, you think it's not going to go, and then it goes.
Like the
and
interstellar stuff, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like that. So that puts you in this space of like oneness or something, this feeling of like rightness, like coming home. And that people would talk about that and how much less reactive and less dramatic their life has been since they've continued to practice remote viewing. So I decided to study, like, maybe if you actually just ask people how much unconditional love they're feeling, you can find out how this is related to their accuracy.
Can we dig into that more? Because you said that a few seconds ago. Unconditional, that's just not something that I would have associated with the ability to have remote viewing. So when you say people's unconditional love, how do you even determine how someone defines that for themselves?
Okay, so we talked about universal love being that which connects in this universal informational substrate. Right. That's external to a person. That's like out there, right? Yes. A force of nature, whatever you want to call it, the way things are. Unconditional love is the human response to that connection. That's how I'm defining it. So what unconditional love feels like to a human, and this is an emotional feeling, is I can love others and feel loved by others and myself. I can love and feel loved without anything needing to change. There's no conditions at all. And so that's the feeling that people were having when they were nearing the target, and that I would have too. I would notice it. It's like, there's nothing needs to change. And the target could be, you're trying to look into a perpetrator for someone's murder, right? Like, it's not like it's always like sunshine. It's often not sunshine, right? But there's this feeling of being on target that has nothing to do with what the target is. And that tells you, that's a feeling of unconditional love. Nothing needs to change. I love everything exactly as it is. Let's just report what it is. And so I asked people to just rank, before they did a precognitive remote viewing task, just here's a definition of unconditional love. Rank how you're feeling right now relative to this definition. And then I split people into two groups, high and low. Are they feeling high unconditional love and low? And you could see in their results in terms of accuracy, statistically significant difference between the ones who were high, who were better, and then the ones who were low, who were at chance.
How would you score someone as low? What kinds of things would you be looking for in the question?
Just made up a survey that says, here's a definition of unconditional love. How much do you feel this, how much do you feel this towards yourself, towards stranger, towards family and friends, towards the device on which you're taking the survey, right? And so there's just four or five questions. And they was all self-report. So they could lie and say, oh, I'm feeling love or whatever, but their self-report of love correlated with their accuracy. So in other words, if they lied, then maybe lying about feeling unconditional love, fake it until you make it, really helps. And then I did the experiment again. That first experiment was exploratory. It was an analysis that I hadn't planned on some old data. The second experiment was confirmatory, which means I planned the analysis because I had this result, and then I showed it again. So now I'm pretty convinced that one of the training pieces ought to be learning to experience unconditional love so that you can have more accurate remote viewing. And I want to talk with special forces guys about this. I know you have a lot on your show.
Yeah.
Because, they're very interested in remote viewing and the general spidey sense thing, because if you could figure out where a person is in a building that you're about to attack, right? It would be really nice to be able to go through those rooms and know exactly what's going on.
Right. One thing I've had in my head while you're talking here, though, I just want to clarify before you go on with the Special Forces example. From some of the conversations I've had with people talking about remote viewing who have some knowledge on things that have happened or have analyzed and stuff like that, it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, when you remote view something accurately, you get the perfect latitude and longitude coordinates of this exact rocket firing at this exact place or whatever. It's like an accurate result may be, there's a drone attack coming somewhere in the Islamabad area.
Yeah.
We don't know exactly where, but it's somewhere over there. So start looking at that airspace or something like that.
Absolutely. But
otherwise, these guys would just be winning the lottery every time they remote viewed.
Yeah.
Effectively.
But that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
So like if you got 5 remote viewers on this and they're sketching out the building before you do an attack the next day, and 3 of the 5 are showing a person in the lower right corner, relative to the street, maybe you go there, maybe that's a priority.
So they're accessing something, like we said, that is not in their same time and space, but with the emphasis on time, they can be seeing things that have yet to occur.
Yes, that's precognitive remote viewing, and it's the most, in my view, the most useful. And it's been, right?
I'd say.
I mean, that's kind of the stuff you want to know is the future. I mean, it's been used. If you look at some of the declassified, if you go to the CIA library and you look at some of the declassified Stargate, you just search for Stargate, you can find some declassified remote viewing sessions. So the transcripts, you can learn a lot from them.
Yeah.
And one of them suggests to me that this kind of precognitive remote viewing has been used very actively. So, like back in the late 70s, from the beginning, it's when remote viewers were being asked about an event that wouldn't occur for another 2 months. But they were specifically asked to go to that time and place. So,
do you think that it's possible, and this in some ways flies in the face of what you were saying 10 minutes ago about some of these intelligence people you talk to seem to be like, what the fuck, we can't even figure this out. We don't have enough information. But do you think it's possible that within some of the compartmentalization structures that I talked about, there have been powers utilized to already predetermine a future? And that could get really dense and dark, but from a 30,000 foot in the air view, do you think something like that has already possibly happened?
I think that the predetermining the future is beyond our control. I think that's above our pay grade. I think that we pretend to think that we can do that. But because of the way I think about the way the universe works with this informational substrate sort of bubbling up and informing events and having these landmarks in time, it's more like there might be a little cadre of people, about whom no one else knows, whose job is to figure out what the landmarks in time are, which may feel like predetermining a future.
For sure.
But is different than that. It's more like noticing what the landmarks are.
Yeah. I mean, we keep talking about this from like the trying to see the future perspective, but of course, like I always think about it like everyone else out there in the reverse as well. And you think like, oh, would we be able to time travel back? And that's something I've always been obsessed with. But I remember like when I had Michio Kaku in May 2023, he was
cool.
It was amazing to talk with him, really cool guy. But when he talks about time travel, he was like, if I went back and changed John Wilkes Booth on April 14th, 1865, it would not change the future now. It would change another tributary of the river and another outcome of the time. So what he was saying is, if we have time travel, we wouldn't even know it because it would be creating a new, I'm going to put a term on it just to make it simple, a new layer of a quote unquote like multiverse kind of thing where another reality exists where John Wilkes Booth did not successfully kill Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
So question being, if we have, or if we could, better way to put it, figure out time travel, would it matter for the reality we're in?
If we could figure out time travel?
Yeah.
I don't, all right, I don't love the everywhere all at once interpretation of like this layered thing. Partly because it's so not parsimonious, which in science talk means it's just way too much shit going on. Like it's not pretty.
Yeah.
That's too much. But it may be true. Aesthetically, I don't like it. It could be true. I also notice that it is the multiple worldview or the many worldview. This is the Everett hypothesis in physics. This is this idea that you make a choice and now you've broken into another universes. You make another choice. There's all these worlds, right? It's often used when physicists don't want to believe that there's retrocausality. So physicists really hate the idea that that information could flow backwards in time and you could cause something in the past. And so instead they say, oh, well, either you can, as in your example, but it makes different timelines,
yes.
or you can't do that at all. And what we have when we have experiments that suggest that things go backwards in time, really, that's just different timelines going forward in a different way. And so I hear that bias, and I think, a really simple way to explain this stuff is just one timeline that has retrocausal effects happening. So we experience something, and then later that event is influenced from the future, or maybe as we're experiencing it, it's being influenced from the future, or maybe before we experienced it, it's influenced from the future. And notice I use the word influence and not change, and that's because change means it was one thing and now is something else. But influence means that this was always going to be 9/11. But it wasn't always going to be two towers. There was just going to be one tower. And then from the future, turns out two towers was somehow important. And so two towers happened, right? So it's, it feels to me the past is pretty malleable. And I don't mean changeable. I mean like influenceable from the future. And so I tell people, like, if you want to influence something, everyone's pushing from the past. Like, tomorrow, I hope I do well on my final exam, or whatever it is, right? You're pushing from the past. You're better off pulling from the future because it's very sparse. Fewer people have figured out that if you sort of put your mind in the future state, you talk to your future self and say, hey, pull me forward towards the thing, that actually works better. I think it does.
I think you're right about that.
Why do you think I'm right about that?
I think you're right about that because you can actually create a mindset that influences your future. Your thoughts become who you are. That's a very true thing. It's not woo-woo at all. I used to kind of think yeah, okay. It is absolutely true. There's science that proves it. I mentioned the I forget the guy's name, Dr. Masaru Emoto or something like that, D, if we can pull it up. I mentioned that doctor who literally studied the way two groups of people talk to themselves impacted them at a cellular level.
He's the water guy, the water crystal guy. So is he the guy who literally takes pictures of
maybe
water and crystals and different emotions? Like people will think of, I think this guy. People think of like peace and there's a water crystal, and people think of war. Is this that guy? Because my only concern about that is I think it's beautiful work, but also he doesn't have controls. Like he picks. It's almost artistic. Like he picks oh, this is a crystal that I'm going to, you need to have a blinded process. Yeah. See, water, click on that one. The water one, the hidden messages on water.
That right down. I'll send you this actual experiment later that he did so you can check it from a scientific perspective, and I'll share it with people as well once I get an answer from Julia on what that is. But there is something. Even before this, he was like, his research suggests that positive self-talk and intentions directly impact the body, which is 60% water, by creating harmonious energy similar to how loving words form beautiful ice crystals. His studies, such as in the hidden messages in water, showed that spoken words like love and gratitude structure water positively, while negative language creates chaotic patterns. And it also matters the intentionality of what you're saying. If you just wake up and say, I'm going to say that I'm grateful for everything. Wow, I'm really grateful for everything. It doesn't do anything because the emotion and the feeling of actual gratitude is not there.
Yeah, it's the inside.
It's performative.
Yeah.
If you will. But either way, when you look at a lot of other studies and different doctors, I guess we were doing it differently than this. There's something to that for sure.
Well, for sure. So the part he says about positive self-talk and intentions affect your body, there's plenty of data on that. His claim that it's through affecting water and resonance is his claim, and I would have to look at how he stakes his claim on that. Will. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll look at that. But there's no question that if you sort of create in your mind, all you have to do is create an imaginary version of yourself.
In my mind and my brain.
In your mind.
Yeah.
And in your brain.
Yeah.
Create an imaginary version of yourself that pulls you forward into where it is you want to go.
Yes. Thank you guys for checking out this clip. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe and hit the like button on this video. It is a huge, huge help. And if you'd like to check out this clip's full podcast episode, that link is in the description below or right here. And finally, you can follow me on Instagram and X by using the links in my description below.